Hello and welcome to the iCandy Duo podcast. I'm your host, Naomi Williams. This podcast is brought to you by iCandy World, makers of beautifully British pushchairs for parents across the globe. We're delighted to be joined on the iCandy Duo podcast by Olympic gold medalist and ex-pro cyclist Dani Rowe. Since retiring from cycling, Dani has welcomed her son Ted, so we caught up with her to chat about the transition from athlete to mum. So, congratulations on the arrival of your son Ted. I know he came into the world in September. How have you been, and how's life been post having Ted?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's gone so quick. I can't believe he's 4 months next week. It really has flown, even though we have kind of all been locked away. I was quite lucky that actually in September it was kind of, I guess, the best part of the year potentially. So restrictions were a little bit easier. So I was lucky that my family could meet him at the time, and I did get a lot of support and help, and the midwives could still come round, which was really nice and just gave me that confidence that all was going well. And yeah, it's just been such an incredible journey so far. It was something that I've wanted for a long time, and yeah, he's just incredible. He just brings so much happiness to myself and family and friends that know us. And yeah, it's going really well. Thank you. Learning every day. It really is a guessing game with babies. How do I make him sleep longer? Or, that's normally the biggest chat from the mums, how to get them to sleep through the night. But he's doing really, really well. And yeah, like I say, it's just a joy to have.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. And normally, around the 4 month mark when I'm talking to new mums and dads, they're maybe not quite so glowing, shall we say. Normally, like you say, I'm so tired. Do you want him for a week? That kind of thing. But also, for him to arrive in September, you're right. He really did choose the kind of perfect little window of opportunity, because in 4 months, bless him, in his little lifetime, he's had 2 lockdowns already. So
I know, exactly. And yeah, it's that whole 4 month regression, but he doesn't seem to be doing too badly so far. So I'm crossing my fingers it doesn't just all go to kind of pot next week when he does hit that 4 months. But I know he's it's been a funny year to be born into. But in a way, I guess lucky that he has no idea what's going on at this age. I do feel for mums with children that are older, that are in school and having to juggle homeschooling and things like that. Must be super, super hard. And actually we're just kind of trying to look at the positives, and that we can just make the most of spending so much time with him. So yeah, it's tough some days. My husband's working from home, and I can't just call on him to help me if I need to go to the toilet or have a shower and I can't put him down, or he's not having a great day, which we all know happens with babies. But yeah, getting through it as best we can.
yeah, absolutely. I have to say, I really love your honesty as well, and just your openness. And I know it's definitely something that you've carried through for your own, on your Instagram channels, and also on your new blog. Well, I say new; it's been like sort of the blog cataloguing your sort of journey throughout, because on that point of being really open and having those really good conversations with other mums, and just being really open and honest about how you're feeling and where you're at, you've actually been really expressive from like even getting pregnant, part of that journey, and really kind of expressing your fears or I suppose your apprehensions as well of that part of the journey. So how did you feel before even writing about that, and why you kind of felt the need to want to share that side of your journey with others?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something I've always tried to do, be open and honest. I think, again, it pops up on Instagram, someone puts a positive pregnancy test up, or a picture of the first scan, and you don't know the story behind it. And I think it can be quite damaging in a way. For a lot of people, that it might be taking a longer time, or they might be having trouble conceiving. And for us, in the big scheme of things, it didn't take that long, but for me, it felt like a lifetime. It was about 8 or 9, maybe 10 months it took. And I think you just expect it to happen straight away. You know, myself and my husband both fit and healthy. But actually, that could have been a slight detriment to me. I was in a calorie deficit for a lot of my cycling career. I didn't have regular periods. I was on the pill for a long time. So again, we'll never get to the bottom of why it did take a little bit longer. But I just wanted to be open and honest about the fact that it did, and that I did really struggle, you know, month on month when, you know, you're waiting to see, you know, either if you come on your period or you're taking a pregnancy test and it doesn't happen, you know, it would get me really, really down. And then obviously when it did happen, it was actually the 8th of January last year that I found out that I was pregnant. It was just, it was just incredible. But yeah, I think it's just important that people are open and honest about their journeys, because it isn't always super straightforward when it comes to conception, obviously.
Absolutely. And I have to say, because I mean, you know, it's like true in history, isn't it? You only hear about the extraordinary, not the ordinary. And it always feels a bit like that, even with pregnancy. People are always going to be like, oh yeah, it was an absolute cinch, or yeah, oh, my birth was so lovely and easy. They're almost, but what people don't tell you is that they're the extraordinary. These aren't the ordinary stories from other people where, you know, like you say, actually, you know, the journey of conceiving isn't always as straightforward for one as it is for the other. And I suppose actually using yourself in your past career as an athlete, I suppose, maybe rightly or wrongly, my preconception would be, oh, you'd find it really easy because you're at the top bill of your health. And I think it's really nice that you've shared that, like, look, everyone's journey is so individual, regardless, you know, and like what you've just explained about, you know, what you went through as an athlete may or may not have had an impact. But, you know, obviously maybe ongoing stress about each month of, you know, and then seeing your period come, maybe that had an effect. It's just really nice to kind of, maybe someone's reading that and going, okay, this could still happen for me. I've just got to be patient and talk about it and get through this. Because, I mean, even just, you know, again, on your blog posts, you've been really honest. And, you know, and I know you had quite a worry, didn't you, around the sort of 20-week mark with Ted?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what sort of happened with that, you know, and also I imagine we were probably in the depths of the COVID restrictions at that point. So I guess you might have been on your own during that whole phase.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really, really horrible. Probably one of the worst days, actually. It was actually on my husband's birthday, just to top things off. It was on the 28th of April. So we were really in the middle stage of this lockdown. I remember going in, I was so excited. I was, you know, buzzing in the morning. You know, I tried to make the best of his birthday, and we were all really excited. We were both really excited to have the scan. We were going to find out the gender as well. And I went in on my own, and so we're going through all the checks, and it was all, you know, all fine and everything looked great. And then the sonographer, I think is what they're called, the person doing the scan, said, oh, we've just got 2 more to check, and that's the heart and the lips. But he's just, at the time it wasn't a he, the baby's just wriggling so much. So if you could just go for a little walk, hopefully when we get back, we can just tick these 2 off and you'll be done. So went for a walk, came back, and then there was almost like silence, and they would, you know, kept checking and checking. And then the sonographer called his colleague over, and we're looking at something else. And then they just basically explained to me that they think they couldn't quite see clearly, but they think they saw a VSD, which is essentially a hole in the heart. And it was just really scary. I was then referred to fetal medicine. And I was in the hospital for 3 hours, and my husband was waiting outside in the car.
Oh, God.
And I just remember sending him, I probably shouldn't have done it, but, you know, a message to say, oh, they think they found a hole in his heart. And it must have been horrendous for him, sat outside. And yes, I had to go to a different sort of ward to then book in a fetal medicine appointment, to have a cardio appointment, to have a proper scan on the heart. And it was just yeah, that was a week later. So that week was just so scary for me. You know, you just expect everything to be okay. And thankfully, the outcome was that it wasn't a VSD, although VSDs are quite common and generally they do close on their own. But yeah, it wasn't. But that week was just horrendous, to be totally honest. I just felt sick from, you know, the moment I left that hospital and thought, you know, my baby might not be 100% healthy, to that, you know, the cardiac scan where they looked into the heart in more depth. It was just, yeah, really scary times. And to have to be doing that all on my own wasn't very nice at all.
Oh, and I'm sure there are probably so many listeners that have had like similar experiences, you know, with a partner in the car, they're in there on their own and just going, how do I even kind of factor this in? You know, and he's probably feeling quite powerless as well. Like, you know, there's nothing you can do if that had been the case. You just have to sort of see how Tay would have developed and just, you know, like you say, I mean, you certainly learn something when you hear about these things, that VSD, it can actually heal itself, you know, on its own. I had no idea about that. So it sounds terrifying, but actually there could have been a positive outcome either way, you know, as you know, when you were about to have him, you know, in September. But my goodness, what a journey. And again, I think it's so important for, you know, from families, you know, from, I say families, like from one family to another family, but also women to women and dads to dads, to have these conversations with each other. Because, yeah, it must have been a terrifying thing, but also to know that you can get through it, even in such a weird time like that. You're having to text your poor husband in the car. I mean, what was going through your head throughout that? I suppose it must have been, yeah, just how you go through the rest of that week until you find out, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly that. I just felt sick. I was just really, really worried. But again, because I spoke out about it, and I think I do kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I remember telling one of my best friends, and she said, "Oh yeah, my son was born with a VSD. He's absolutely fine, and you know, just have to have a few checks along the way to hope that it closes up on its own, and if not, it's like a small procedure." And I think the more you talk about things, you know, you almost share that problem, and thankfully, you know, it just took a little bit of that worry away. Than if I just kept it to myself and, you know, looked on Google and probably found the worst possible outcome ever. But yeah, it was just not very nice at the time, especially when I was in hospital for those few hours. You know, just sort of walking around on my own and being passed almost from pillar to post, although, you know, obviously the healthcare has been absolutely incredible. You know, just to have Matt there, my husband, just would have been so much easier just to be able to talk through and process it a bit better with someone else, rather than having to, you know, take it all on personally until I got outside and could talk about it then. And also taking in that information. Sometimes, you know, in those situations, you can't really think straight. And actually, it's important to be able to, you know, listen at times like that. So to have him there would have just been a lot easier. But yeah, that obviously wasn't an option at the time. And thankfully, again, feel very lucky that it wasn't actually a VSD or an issue, and he's healthy. So yeah, just feel very, very grateful and blessed that was the outcome.
Yeah, no, it's such fantastic news. But also, isn't it funny when your friend was like, "Oh yeah," like, and you know, it's almost like, wow, this is, you know, these conversations do need to exist out loud, because she probably went through exactly the same thing and felt that she didn't really talk about it, and had been through the whole process, come out the other side, and was kind of, you know, she'd kind of dealt with it and was able to give you such great advice, or at least a bit of comfort and just an ear to talk to about it, that knew about it. So it's really great and really commendable that you've been so open throughout. And also, which I think it's great, obviously you've got a really nice balance on the blog, where obviously you're just being really open and you're really kind of expressing about your journey, and which is great. But also you've got it's called From Athlete to Mum. So it's really nice that it's kind of cataloguing that side of your journey as well. You know, you've gone from a very, very active life, pre-baby, pre-conceiving, and obviously it's a big part of your life, and like how you've kind of, you know, looked at your fitness and your exercises and how you've kind of incorporated that. I mean, how did you find that? How did you find that whole process? And did you find that there were key things that you had to adapt within your fitness routine when you became pregnant?
Yeah, definitely. But adapt is kind of what I did. And I was really, really keen on staying as fit and active throughout pregnancy as I could. And it was tough actually, because there wasn't much information out there. And it's something I've been quite open about again, while I was pregnant and since with various blogs and different things, talking to midwives, because I think it's so important for women to stay active if obviously their health and they feel okay to do so. I was very lucky. I had quite a lot of nausea in the first trimester, but again, compared to others, had a very, very straightforward pregnancy in terms of how I felt. So I was lucky and really made sure that I exercised most days. Obviously, I did have to adapt. I went from, even when I'd stopped cycling, I was still super, super active. You know, I still be training 6 days a week, whether that was in the gym, running, on the bike. So with pregnancy, I just adapted it. I didn't work as intensely. And obviously when my bump grew, I had to make adaptations to my bike to make sure I could still hold the handlebars with the bump. I did a lot of indoor bike cycling. And for me personally, I felt safer inside. Again, everyone's different. I know some cyclists who still rode up to the end of their pregnancy outside. But for me personally, I decided that I wanted to just keep riding indoors. We couldn't go to the gym, but I just kept doing some sort of strength-based exercises at home. And then I ran up to about 20 weeks. I actually suffered quite a lot with pelvic pain. And because I wasn't really used to running before I even got pregnant, just from riding a bike so much, I decided that it was just putting too much strain on my body. So stopped running. Yeah, like I said, about 20 weeks. But I just think it really, really helped me throughout pregnancy and throughout lockdown. It gave me structure to my day. And it meant that I didn't put on a lot of excess weight, which helped the recovery. My labor was absolutely horrendous and really, really long. And again, I think it just helped me have the strength to get through it. It was 36 hours and I was in active labor it was just,
oh my goodness, that
something
actually
else.
left me speechless for a moment there.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Wow. Yeah, it just gave me the strength to get through that. And then after the recovery as well, I've, thankfully recovered super quickly and got back to exercise pretty quick. So yeah, a lot of adaptations were made, but yeah, it's part of me and who I am mentally and physically, so beneficial. So it's helped me a lot.
Yeah. And I think actually what you were saying, I think as well, that's really important. I think it's probably for many people of varying different sort of health statuses as they get pregnant, is just listening to your body. Like you were saying about running, it's like you just felt, actually, 20-week mark, I'm going to leave that. Doesn't feel necessarily the right thing for me. Yeah. Is there, would you say that's probably like one of the key things that you'd kind of probably recommend to other people listening, like just listen to your body?
Yeah. And I think it definitely tells you. And that was a lot of people gave me that advice. And you just know, because I was a bit paranoid about doing too much or going too hard, but actually your body will tell you if you are. And that's why I did stop running. And there was a few times when I got on the bike and after 5 minutes, I thought, actually, do you know what, today I'm not feeling great. I'm going to get off. And that was fine. I think as long as you are listening to your body, you're not overheating, your heart rate isn't going to anywhere near your max, then, it's just so beneficial, rather than a hindrance through your pregnancy.
Oh, that's fantastic. And would you say, was there anything else in particular that helped you through the pregnancy and the birth process? I mean, like anything, like, did you do any online classes or anything else like that to accompany the exercise, or was it kind of more of the exercise as the discipline that you felt really helped you through that process?
No, I actually read a lot. Obviously, we had a lot of time. I did an NCT. I did NCT virtually. That was really, really helpful, and also read quite a lot of books and listened to hypnobirthing as well. And I think that really helped me. I think initially I thought hypnobirthing was, a bit, I don't know, airy fairy. And it really wasn't. It was more about learning what your body's going through so that actually when your contractions do start or you are in labor, you know that this is normal and it's easier to sort of, I guess, process and try and get through. So that really, really helped me. I'm just learning about, what your body goes through when you do give birth. So that was another thing that I did when I was pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, it must be when you think, literally, I'm just looking at the title of your blog again. It's kind of really stick like sort of settling in a way, from athlete to mum. I guess it has been. I mean, it's a big situational change for any woman. I mean, for you when you were still, very much a competing athlete, the decision to become a mother or thinking about children, how was that decision? Because I guess does it always mean you have to retire, or did you think, oh no, actually I prefer to retire and then have a family? I mean, how was that situation for you coming round to the idea of having children and timing that, if you did?
Yeah, for me personally, I never wanted to go back to cycling professionally with a baby or after having a child. And I really have so much admiration and respect for people that do. But for me, I wanted to be really satisfied with what I'd achieved in my cycling career and then almost enter this new chapter of my life. I'm the sort of person that tries to put absolutely everything into anything that I do. And for me, again, personally, I never wanted to be resentful of, for example, being up all night and knowing that I had training the next day, thinking, oh, I need to sleep because I'm not going to be able to get the most out of my training the next day. And I think that was important for me personally, just to be able to not have that in the back of my mind. Oh, I need to get back on the bike soon. Just that you have to be so selfish as an athlete. And if you don't have, I guess, the support structure that means that you, for example, my friend Laura Kenny, who I competed with at the Olympics, her and her husband Jason both ride a bike, so they can really make it work in terms of looking after their little boy. And it's the same with Lizzie Deignan, who's a cyclist. Her husband Phil, he retired, so I know he looks after their little baby a lot when she's training. But for us, that wasn't going to work because my husband works full time. So it would have been really hard to sort of juggle that. So yeah, it was just something that I always wanted. I always wanted to have children, but I always wanted that to come after my cycling career, and also wanted a bit of time between my cycling career and having a baby, just to do the things that I or we as a couple never ever got to do when I was competing. It was, being an athlete was a full-time job, and I wanted to make sure that, we ticked a few things off the list then before we had a baby, and then our lives completely changed again. But it's worked out really well for me. I still love riding my bike, but I'm glad that I'm not competing anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know you guys, I think you started a new bespoke cycling coaching company. Is that right? And could you actually explain a little bit more of what that is? I mean, I appreciate Ted is only 4 months old, so I'm sure you're hopefully having a little bit of time off. But as like a sort of joint endeavour, that it sounds cycling will remain in your life, but you've just made it fit now within your new family, which sounds great. I mean, what is the bespoke cycling coaching company? What's that all about? And how's that going?
So it's called Rowe and King. So King's my maiden name. Obviously Rowe is my surname now. Matt, my husband's brother, Luke Rowe, rides for Team Ineos. So he's competed in the last numerous Tour de France victories that their team have had. And their dad is a really experienced coach. And a few years ago, we decided to set the company up. And essentially, we coach anyone all over the world, from real beginner to someone who wants to make it as a professional cyclist. We use a virtual online training portal that inputs training plans, and they're all bespoke to that individual depending on what the goal for that person might be, whether it is to complete a 10-mile bike ride or to compete in a professional bike race. I'm coaching a few women from recreational to professional, so full-time cyclists. And yeah, we're all super passionate about trying to help people get better on a bike. And this year's been amazing to see. We've got more clients than we have done. And I think COVID, it's a positive to come out of. People are looking after themselves and want that goal and want that accountability to be able to look for a coach to, for them to tell them what to do on a daily basis to help them improve. So yeah, it's fantastic, and it's something that we love doing.
That's amazing. And do you find that there's a natural balance of sort of being involved with that side with the company and, like you say, doing some sort of training whilst also being a mum to Ted?
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect, to be honest, because I can, juggle my time and make sure that my athletes that I look after have got their coaching in for the week. And yeah, it's great. It's, we respond to a lot of the clients or athletes that we look after on WhatsApp, and we all know how good that is, and FaceTime. And because it was, I guess, sort of virtual in terms of we don't meet up with these people anyway, it hasn't really changed how we operate as a business with COVID. So we've been really, really lucky to be able to carry on, providing the service. Essentially, we also use an online training platform, cycling platform called Zwift, which has really taken off this year as well, which basically you can attach your bike to an online sort of indoor cycling trainer and then ride with anyone who's on the platform at the time. And there's, specific training sessions and rides. And that's another really nice social thing to do as well. You can chat to people on there. And especially, again, the year we found that that's been really useful to our coaching as well. And that's really something that's taken off for a lot of people, to be able to jump on the bike, in the comfort of their own home, but actually talk to other like-minded people at the same time.
That sounds incredible. And like you say, I mean, you couldn't have a better company in this current situation, I think. That's amazing. And it's nice as well that it's for different levels, because like you were saying, like cycling was obviously something that you could go to when you were kind of pregnant and going through that, and it was something that you knew really well and you really enjoyed. But even if you're on quite you're quite new, but you want to try it, because like you say, you can be in the comfort of your home. You don't have to worry about being on a busy street or anything like that. If you're not totally comfortable, this is a great way to get your health and your fitness up during pregnancy, or even just post-pregnancy and, moving forward, forever, but also being able to talk to a community of people while you do it. Sounds fantastic.
It's absolutely perfect. And like you say, I think for a lot of women especially, I think the biggest barrier of getting out onto the road is the worry and the safety aspect of it. So that is another, great reason to be able to ride a bike still from the comfort of your own home, like you just said. And especially with COVID now, it's so important that we are all looking at our own health. And I guess COVID aside, it's so, so important. But it looks like, and it's not the case, obviously, in every scenario, but the healthier you are, the more likely you will be able to get through this horrible virus, which I've actually had, and so's my husband, and it is nasty. But it's just, a great way, I think, for people to kind of look at themselves and think, right, could I lead a bit of a healthier lifestyle at the moment? And how can I do this? Is it getting out for walks at the moment? That's what we do, so much walking. I did a lot of walking as well in my pregnancy. Or if you are interested in cycling, how can I make it work? Can I do some online fitness sessions? Or, there's so much now that's free and accessible on on social media or, YouTube or, there really isn't an excuse, I don't think, at this time to still be able to exercise.
I know it is a bit of a weird kind of flip positive, isn't it? Where we've almost, because we've been inside for so long, the world has actually adapted and brought the outside in. Like you say, where now you can exercise really safely and perfectly well inside. There's loads of resources now. But I have to say, it did make me smile when you were going through the volume of people within your direct family who have cycling involved in their life. I mean, poor Ted. I think, if he doesn't look at a bicycle with absolute hearts in his eyes, I don't know, what are you going to do?
Do you know what? I really don't mind. To be honest, it's pretty brutal. It's a pretty brutal lifestyle to be in cycling. I'd love for him to find joy in riding a bike. But again, all I want is for him to be happy and healthy. And just give him the opportunities that I had, to try all sorts. I did absolutely every activity or sport under the sun, and, just happened to fall into cycling when British Cycling came into my school and tested us. And I happened to be quite fit from all the different activities that I did when I was younger. But for Ted, I think it's going to be important for us that he's super active, but if it's not something that he wants to get into, then that's also absolutely fine. But like you say, I think with the amount of bikes that are in our family, he's bound to be riding one.
This is it.
Quite soon. Not quite yet.
But
We'll
also,
let him get walking first.
I like your attitude. Said like a true loving mum there. Like if it's not bikes, c'est la vie. This is it,
exactly.
Isn't it? They're going to carve their own path and find their own interests. So, but I was going to say, he's going to struggle to see anything else but bikes, probably in the house. But,
poor boy.
So, he's 4 months old. I know it's, pandemic, everything else that's still rolling on. I mean, if you were going to give one piece of advice from your whole experience, so on your journey of conceiving to where you are now, is there anything that you'd say as a piece of advice to anybody listening to help them get through that period?
I would maybe say just try and structure your day at some point, have some sort of structure to your day. And if you can use exercise as part of that, then that's absolutely great. That really helped me, whether it was, like I said, just a walk, a run, a cycle, a home workout, a stretch. Gave me that structure that I could get up in the morning and I had some sort of purpose or thing to do. And that was a big tick in the box for me. It helped me stay, fit and healthy throughout my pregnancy, for my recovery. And even now, I really still try and use, whether it be if Ted goes down for a nap, even if it only lasts 20 minutes, we're this 4-month regression at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to get 10 minutes or an hour out of him, but I guess if I get up in the morning and I can put my gym kit on, as soon as he goes down, even in 20 minutes, you can do something. So, I'd say that would be my biggest piece of advice. It's great for your mental health and your physical health. That's what I'd say.
I think that's great advice. And I think, to be honest with you, with kids, without kids, I think everyone can kind of it could definitely take something away from that, especially as, like we say, roll on lockdown 3. Hopefully it'll be one of the last ones. But I think just having that, purpose to get up at a particular time and do something, and then you get that kind of sense of achievement in every day. No matter how little or big it might be, even if it, like you say, like just a walk around the block and back home again. If that's a big achievement, then absolutely.
Gets you up, gets you dressed. Reason to get out, get some fresh air, and the endorphins as well that it gives you mentally. Everyone's struggling at the moment. We've all had good days and bad days where we think, when is this going to end? But I think with exercise, it just, there's scientifically proven to release endorphins that will make you feel better. So the hardest part generally is getting out the door or, starting. But once you've started and you finish, it will be, so worth it. And I just try and will everyone just to try it, just see how it feels. And I think 9 times out of 10, you'd come back and say, wow, actually, I feel so much better for doing it.
Oh my God, you're making me want to just hang up on the phone right now and go out and go running. No, but I like it. It's really good. And I think
Mr. Motivator.
no, it's great. But I think you do need to have that kind of just do it. Just get outside. And as soon as you start, you do feel immediately better. And I think it is hard to break the cycle if you've got yourself in a bit of a rut of being at home and not doing anything. But it just all starts with one time, doesn't it? You just got to one day decide, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do it. And and just start off small and build up. And yeah, it has such a big effect. But do you know what? I think we're almost out of time, Dani. So thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. And like I say, I feel so motivated now. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us and having a chat with us today. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
To find out more information about the topics covered in today's podcast, please go to the iCandy blog page on www.icandyworld.com/ICLife, where you'll find all the relevant links. iCandy is a proud supporter of Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital charity. COVID-19 means the hospital is facing new challenges and needs more support than ever to continue the life-changing care and research for seriously ill children. If you are able to support GOSH, please head to our dedicated fundraising page on www.justgiving.com/company/iCandy.